welcome back to Simply Minis. We've got our stocker here. We're going to do an episode on showing you basic maintenance. This bike gets ridden by a lot of my friends. It's kind of a loner bike, so it gets beaten. We're going to go through some of the parts that are on it. We run this bike in stock class, and it has to meet certain rules. They only allow certain things, like you got to have a stock exhaust, you have to have a stock airbox, but they'll allow a seat modification, some suspension modifications. So we're just going to go through that real quick and show you what we got here, and then maybe some of the issues you might run into. We'll start with the front forks. On this bike, we run 20 weight oil in these forks. It has one BBR stiff spring and one stock KLX110 spring. These are just regular 110 forks. They're not L forks. Straight up regular forks, no clamps on it. We just run, these are XR50 Pro Taper bars, stock throttle. I prefer the stock throttle. BBR gas cap, they're billet gas cap. That's a nice little addition there. I'll show you how nice it unscrews, and no fighting to get back on, right on. It's got the tall seat cushion for your butt, so you don't beat yourself to death, especially if you're a seat rider. We got an eye shock in the back, which performs really well. I was skeptical about it at first, and I've actually been impressed with it. SICK 110's brake pedal. This, I believe, is pretty much the most versatile brake pedal that you can get. It's steel, it bends back if you bend it. I mean, this one's bent a little bit right now, and we'll just get it back under the cover a little bit, no problem. So that works nice. And then we have a Jesse Bain skid plate. This is Bain Fab. This bolts in the front. The whole plate is steel, and then it has a piece of Delrin on the bottom, which really does a good job at protecting over, you know, when you're riding a stocker, the bottom gets beat up, so you don't got as much ground clearance. Now, one of the main issues that you have when you ride a stocker is that you might have this issue, which is why your tubes pop. So these, eventually the tire spins on the rim, and you'll run into this issue where this gets so cocked that eventually it'll tear the tube and the tire goes flat on you. So I'm going to show you today how to prevent this. So if you keep an eye on your stems, which we just noticed this when we put it up here, keep an eye on your stems. Now that you got the air out, push your beads in from the sides. So the easiest way to correct this issue, if you do have it on a stand, you could do it on the ground, and you could roll the bike and then tap the front brake. You might be able to get it to come to the spot you want. But if you have a buddy hold the brake, Johnny's holding the brakes for me right now. But you just take your tube or your tire, and you can spin it a little bit. You see how it's nice and straight now? Then you just fill it back up with air, and you're good to go. There she is. So on the rear, we're going to do the same thing. Pull the core out. Usually when you get your tubes, you'll get a cap that has that in the top, and you can use that to take the core out. Some people know, some people don't. If you didn't, now you do. Break the tire from the rim again, just to make it easy on yourself. And then we're going to hold the rear brake, get her straight. This is controversial for some. I usually don't run a nut on here. If you run the nut super tight on there, when it does cock, it'll rip the tube a lot quicker. So a lot of guys keep 20 psi in these. You want to put 20 psi in them. If you run anything lower, I mean 18 is about as low as you can go and not have any spinning issues. You can put rim locks in, but if it's a stocker and you don't want to, just run 20 psi, and it makes it a lot harder for that to spin. So that can be, you know, circumvented pretty easily. But rim locks are a pain in the butt, and they make tires hard to change, so I only run those on my mod bikes. We're going to show you a clutch adjustment. That's pretty quick. You need a 12mm wrench. You're going to crack this nut loose here. You're going to turn this clockwise to make sure that you're off of it. So clockwise is out. Counterclockwise is the way that you're going to go to adjust it. So right now when I go to adjust, I'm going to turn it counterclockwise until I feel this stop. So now I have pressure here and I can't really turn this much more. If you do turn it more, you'll actually be compressing the clutch. You'll feel it. You'll know 100%. So just bring it to that point where it stops. Go back a quarter of a turn. Take your wrench. While you're holding it, tighten it back down, and your clutch is adjusted. It's that simple. All right, so the next thing we're gonna check is the air filter. Now, don't judge me. Like I said, this is the flog bike, so it doesn't get as much respect as it deserves. But you need an 8mm. I'm gonna pull the shroud off. Something I didn't mention earlier was that in stock class, in the stock classes where we ride, they have to be stock motors. They'll check your cylinder to make sure it says 111 on it and make sure it's a factory cylinder. I mean, there's guys that cheat, but like this bike is actually stock and slow as hell, especially with a 220-pound guy on it. I'm gonna pop this off. Yeah, I got some holes cut in the airbox. Don't look at it.
I was gonna say, don't mind those.
Don't look at it. That's the most illegal thing on this bike.
They don't help when you're chunky.
I could have a cheater piston, but I don't. It's $100 if you want to tear it down, okay? This might be scary in here, fellas. Might not. Oh, you know what? That's not too bad. It's a little raunchy. I spoke too soon. Oh yeah, okay. So there's some sand in there. That's never good. So we're gonna go ahead, and the way you clean that, I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. I use the any kind of cleaner spray, like filter cleaner spray. Spray it on there, clean it. You could use dish soap if you want to. Whatever floats your boat. Make sure you get that out of there, because that'll all go in there, and that's no good. We're gonna do a chain adjustment. We'll show you that. Don't judge our method, but the way that we do it is 3 fingers. Because when you sit on the bike, the thing a lot of people don't realize about tightening a chain is that while it's on a stand like this, it might feel really good, and then when you go to sit on it, it will actually tighten up to the point where it stops the swing arm from traveling, and it's really bad for the bearings on the shaft here. So 3 fingers on top of the swing arm. That's a pretty good area to go off of. This chain's actually in a decent spot right now, but we're going to show you anyway, just for the sake of you guys knowing. The first thing I do is crack these loose. These are stock KLX110 adjusters. They're kind of garbage, but I mean, they'll do the job for this. It's just a stocker. It only goes so fast. So to crack this loose, you need a 14. And a 19. Some bikes, some people have different sizes on it. Depends on if you got the factory axle in it and all that. But this bike, it's 14 and a 19. I got a shot over there, Johnny. It's just the other side of the axle nut. 19mm. crack this loose. So obviously that's extremely loose now. This is pretty much about what people's chains, that's the point they get to, and they're like, all right, maybe I should adjust that. Now the issue with not adjusting your chain is if it does come off and you don't have your case saver on there, even if you do have the case saver on there, it might still tear some shit up. These break off a lot because the chain will get all wrapped off in here and it'll snap this off the case. That's super common. And then down here, it beats up the case down here if it's too loose, because it'll start hitting that. So you really want to pay attention to this. You want to keep a decently fresh chain on your bike. The Pro Taper Gold is what we use. We've tried many chains. At the end of the day, this is the one that works. So we're just going to continue to use it. And these things go through sand. We ride in Indiana, which is pure sand, and it beats the shit out of chains, bike, everything. But these they hold up to the abuse. So we're going to keep using them. We have this really cheap tool from Motion Pro. The part number on it is 08-0048. Really simple tool. I'm going to show you how we use it here in a second. But so basically the 3-finger rule here. So I'm going to adjust these until I feel, and I can do this by hand since it's on the stand, and that about the middle of the swing arm, your 3 fingers. That makes me about happy right there. So now to see, like on the stock swing arm, this one's been painted and it does have marks. They're really hard to see. So like it can make it a pain in the butt to adjust the chain. So this tool, that's where this comes in clutch. Now the way this is gonna work, it's got this on here. That's all it is. Put it on a spot where you can grab the sprocket. Tighten her down. Now Johnny's going to give you a view down the chain, which it's actually off. So you can see, you obviously want to use the parallel of the chain to this bar to get it straight. So then this bar will allow you to see where it's going to be straight, and then make sure once you're done that you check your 3-finger again, because as you move these from side to side, it does affect the tension over here a little bit when you adjust to the other side. It's not a lot, but it is something. So I'm going to adjust that real quick. I'll get it straight. So that tool's worth its weight in gold. It's not very expensive. I wanted to point this out on the Fastway pegs. These have an adjustment on the back side that allows you to change the angle of your foot peg. So if you like to have your foot pegs say up a little bit so that you can keep your feet angled in towards the bike, or if you just like them pure flat, you can get whatever you want. This is a Two Brothers peg mount, and then these are these are just KLX110 Fastway pegs. These are an older generation of Evo pegs. I think honestly Gen 1s, I'm pretty sure. But that is worth its weight in gold. And on a stocker, having this kind of platform for your foot is just fantastic, especially because of how rough, you're going to ride on this bike. So other than that, I think that's pretty much all the things that you should be looking at periodically, say maybe every 10-15 hours, especially if you're racing the bike. These are all the things you should be checking. A lot of people complain about tube flats, and that's the main reason, is not paying attention to your stems moving, because when you brake hard, these move, especially without rim locks. Air filters, dirty air filters kill motors. It's just super important that you take care of that. Oil changes, that's super important. I would do an oil change in this video, but this Bane fab plate takes a little bit to take off, so I might have to put that in a different video. But if you're looking to have a stocker, I mean, this is kind of what you need to be in a stock class. Some places allow you to run exhaust, some don't, so I just keep a stock exhaust on it to make it work. It's been a great bike, and I love the KLX110 platform. If you're considering one, especially if you're thinking about buying a China bike, don't do it. Go with the KLX110. This bike probably has, I mean, at least 30 hours of racing, people riding it that don't own it. So, like, you know how you ride stuff that you don't own, you ride it like you stole it. I let my buddy Martin's kid race it. It's been through a lot, and it still looks like it's in good shape, and it still rides great. And I've had China bikes before, and they fall apart. So, you know, like, I see a lot of people asking about China bikes, so it's something I wanted to touch on a little bit, is that I don't feel that it's worth it in the end to buy a China bike, because the parts are just, they're inferior to what parts would come with the KLX110. But hope you enjoyed the video. Just a little quick maintenance on a bike that you ride a lot, and hopefully this helps you out, and we'll see you on the channel for the next video. Thanks a lot. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.